Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer and today I'm Gamesplaining 2018. This is the end of 2018. We are up to doing a top 10. Now my top 10s don't look the same as everyone else's top 10s. I don't go with just the games that came out in this year. I go with what games I have enjoyed playing the most through the year. Now that might be games that are really old, it might be games that are super new. There is, I believe, only one game from this current year, 2018, in the list, but it's fairly high up, so let's see how we go. Now before I get to it, I have once again, if you've watched last year's one, you'll see what happened with the way that I've put things together. I have ignored games that are party games, which means that Fuse, once again, even though it has had the most plays out of the year, it isn't on the list. I still like the game, but there it is. I did mention that as another game last year. I'm not going to mention that again. I will, however, this year mention my second most played game, which is Santorini. Now Santorini is a two-player best experience game. It can play with 3 or 4 players. It's had the most plays simply because it plays relatively quickly, and the essence of the game is that you're battling for height and to get your meeple to the right height. So I believe I've done videos of all these. The video for Santorini, I thought I had done it, but I haven't done it. So that's coming out in the next couple of weeks. So you can have a look at it and see how the game plays. But Santorini is a 11th game played, or 11th game like this, kind of almost made it, but didn't quite. So let's run through the top 10 games that I have played this year. Number 10 is a game that has come out quite often that I really like. It's totally different to most other games, simply because it's more of a dexterity game. This game is Junkard. Junkard is my number 10. I have the wooden version of it. Other people, I guess, have the plastic version. There are 2 versions available. I haven't played the plastic version. This is a really good game because it's slightly different every time you play it. Every time I play it, I have to have a look at the rules to remind myself of, oh, I'm in this city, this is the rules. Because there's so many cities for you to go into to build your structures. It is a dexterity game. It's really a balancing game. And look, I really like it. I enjoy it. I have enjoyed it. I did have it further up my list, but it's not my wife's style of game, so I dropped down a little bit. My number 9 is Great Western Trail. Great Western Trail is a really good game. It's a solid game. I have found that it's crunchy enough for me to have my head into the meat of the game and to kind of really be thinking through. I fear that I have found a way to win the game, but there is an expansion which I haven't got. I've got, hopefully will be coming soon, but I don't have it yet. Essence of the game is that you're just moving through this trail, but you can move a certain distance to the trail and you can skip over stuff if you don't need it. So if you've got a really good hand of cards, you probably don't need to stop at every stop. Whereas if you've got a really bad hand of cards, you'll need to stop often to try and make that a better hand by the time you get to the top. And that's the essence of the game. I found that I have ignored the train track thing. I think that's what the expansion will fix up, is it adds an extra element of train to it. And that's a really good thing because I've found that I've just pretty much ignored that as an extra thing to do unless I need what is on the Train Master's little spots. The video of it originally is actually, I fear that it was missing some things or kind of misunderstood some things. I've had them fixed up, which is partly why I do these videos, by the way, is to get people to fix things up, say, oh no, you've missed this. Because I have a tendency to read the rules and I'll understand them as best as possible, but I still might miss stuff. So if you notice stuff in any of my videos that I've made mistakes on that hasn't been commented on already, please write a little comment below it with the timestamp. And if you're watching the videos, have a look for those timestamps to see if there's anything that needs to be changed. My number 9 is a game that has come back to my videos very recently because I did the original videos of it like a year and a little bit ago. This game is a game that is really high up on my wife's list of games that she really, really likes. It's a game that she'll look at my entire shelf of contents and go, that one, I want to play that one. And the game that I'm talking about is Aquasphere. Stefan Feld, it's one of my favourite designers. It's really, really good design. It's a solid design. It's a solid game. It's about going under the sea and you want to do all the things, but you just can't. And so finding your way through that game is really worthwhile thing to do. I don't even know if it's still in print, mostly because I haven't looked. So if it's still in print, great. If it's not, then go searching for it. It's a worthwhile game to get into. I really, really like this game. That's my number 8 game, Aquasphere. My number 7 game is a game that has taken a really, really long time for me to actually do a video of. I got it a while back. When I say a while back, it probably should have been videoed in 2017, not during 2018, simply because I've had it for that long. Now, it's really heavy. I've been sitting on it and thinking about it and trying to find the right way to video it, and I got to it, but it took me a long time to get there. The game I'm talking about, of course, is A Feast for Odin. To my money, this is one of Uwe's strongest games. It's also one of his heaviest games, or at least the heaviest that I've come across. It's a really, really good game with so much going on that you can always decide on different parts. What I found is that the first few plays, you're struggling to fill up your little board. In the last play that I had of it, I filled that board up really easily and was starting to move on to the other boards and bring other boards in. And once you find that space, that path to be able to get the big stuff in to fill up those boards, that's when you're going to really get the crunch of this game and find your way into winning the game. And you want to be playing with people who understand it just as well as you, so they can be following the same path. So Feast for Odin, it's a really good game. It's quite heavy, but it's really good. I suggest really getting into it and kind of just, it's going to take you a few plays for you to understand it. In fact, everything I've looked at hasn't told me this is the path to get to the heavier boards, to get to all those other boards. And there's probably a reason for that. It's because I don't remember, but more importantly, it's because I think there's actually quite a few different paths that will get you there. You just need to look for the stuff that's going to allow you to get to the really heavy end of the game, which is bringing more and more boards in, because you do have a limited number of turns on what you can actually do. My number 6 game is a game that I feel like was in last year's top 10 list. My top 10 list, by the way, has probably shifted substantially since last year. So that's just what I'm enjoying playing at the moment. So my number 6 game for this year is a game that is out of print, unfortunately. I have still seen it on the shelf at some shops, but I'm in Australia. So if you are not in Australia, you probably haven't seen this on the shelves for a little while. If you are in Australia and don't have a copy of this, get it. It's so worthwhile. Russian Railroad. Now, there are 2 expansions on this, and I have one of them. I haven't yet played with the expansion material. Russian Railroad is a really good example of a worker placement game. I just find there's so much grunt to the game that you're trying to get these spots, and early on in the game, you really need to go for the lengthening the track part of the game. But there's these other couple of tracks that you can go on to and push your guys forward that can get you uber points. So I've found that I've started ignoring that main track part. While there's probably some really good points in that, there's also some really good points in those lower ones. And if no one's going for those lower ones, it actually opens you up to be able to go for them and push forward with them a little bit easier. And so finding that balance in this game is a really tough thing to do, but it's a really exciting thing to do, because you've got limited turns, limited things that you can do on your turn. There's a super crunch on it. I've really liked this game since the moment I've got the game. I still really like it. I think that's a super worthwhile game for you to get onto and get into and play as much as you can. So please find someone who owns Russian Railroad. Get playing it. It's such a good game. My number 5 game, the only Viticulture that's managed to make it onto my list this year. Last year, I believe I had at least 2, if not 3 of his games right at the top of the list. This is the only Viticulture that's made onto my list. And this one wasn't on the list last year. This game has only just been re-released. It is Kanban. Notice I'm holding the older version of it. It's pretty much the same as the newer version. I've recently done videos of it as well. It's such a crunchy game that you're looking at it and you go, oh, I can do this. There's so much stuff you can do in this game, but it also makes sense at the same time. It's such a good game. I really suggest getting a copy of it. I understand that the re-release of it is the last re-release we'll see of this game, so please, please, please get yourself a copy, have a play of it. Have a look at the video to see if you're going to like it first, obviously, but have a play of it. Come on, such a good game. My number 4 is probably my wife's number 1, and that's okay. My number 4 is The Colonists. Now, there are 4 ages in this. It takes the 2 of us about 6 hours to play the 4 ages, and that's fairly stable. I understand that there is a 5th age coming, and I'm so looking forward to getting my hands on that. You have no idea how excited I am about that. Obviously, it's going to add another couple of hours to the playtime of this game, But I've only ever played it 2-player. I want to play it 4-player. I fear that I've got to the point where I just understand this game too well now, so I'm just going blah, 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 blah. And I'm at that point where I just know exactly how this game is going to run. I fear that it's getting a little bit old for me because I've played it so much. And it's the only game that I've ever videoed before I've actually played it, simply because it was so heavy. I never thought I'd actually get it to the table. This has had a heap of plays, and it's continually will have a heap of plays, and we just love it so much. So please have a look at it. The Colonists is such a good game. It's my number 4 for the year. My number 3 is a game that is in the winemaking genre. So you've got this game and you've got Vinos. I assume there's some others, but they're the two that kind of keep crunching out. And they're different games, but about the same kind of stuff. Viticulture is my number 3 game for this year. Viticulture is one of those games that I keep kind of going, hey, do you want to play Viticulture? Yes, I do. It's such a good game. I love this thing. I have the Tuscany version as well, the Tuscany expansion, and I play with that often, which suddenly breaks down the 4 different seasons into the 4 different seasons, rather than Viticulture by itself, which has the 1 season, then you take cards, then there's another season. And there's kind of every alternate season. So summer and winter, you've got spring and fall. You're just taking cards on those ones. Summer and winter, you can do stuff. On the Tuscany expansion, it actually gives you stuff to do on all 4 of those seasons. And it's a bit more crunchy to think about and kind of get your head around. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on. But Viticulture is such a good game. I really suggest having a look at it and getting into it. Okay, my number 2 game is a game that I don't believe that I've actually played with my wife, or if I have, I've only played once a while back. But it's a game that whenever I get together with certain groups of people, they're going, oh, we need to play it. We need to get into that game. I had a first play with a new group of people who weren't really into games, and I pulled this game out, and they loved it so much that the next time I got together with them, they were, oh, can we play? And the game that my number 2 is holding is Scythe. Such a good game. I don't have the most recent release, the 3rd expansion. I have the other expansions. I'm here to play with the 2nd expansion. First expansion makes this game play up to 7 players instead of 5. As previously suggested by myself and other people, don't try and play the 7-player until you've got people who are at the table who actually know the game, because it does slow down. If you've got people who know the game, you'll get around the 7 players relatively quickly. There are a couple of the combinations of cards, or of your starting cards, that shouldn't be played with. That's been spoken about, and there's a new one just come onto it. I can't remember what they are off the top of my head, but there's a couple there. So have a look at the errata on Board Game Geek, and that will tell you what to watch out for and what to not use. But Scythe is such a good game still. I really think this one should be really high up in everyone's ownership and the Board Game Geek preferences and all that type of stuff. Scythe, really, really good game. And my number 1 game for the year, I think I knew this was going to be my number 1 from the moment I played it. It's the only 2018 game that has made my list this year, simply because I haven't been playing that many 2018 games. I have managed to get my hands on quite a few of them very recently, so you might see them next year. We'll see what happens. But this one is my number 1. It's the only 2018 to make it. I had 2 options, but I've gone with Birmingham. So, Brass. As a general rule, Brass is my number 1 game, but I had to make a distinction between Birmingham and the Lancashire, and I've gone with Birmingham. The reason I've gone with Birmingham is because I'm not a Brass player originally. So, what I've discovered is people who play Brass originally, so the original version of it with the ugly artwork, if you will, they really like Birmingham. Simply because that's the one that's based on the original version. It kind of is the original with upgraded artwork. People who have not played Brass previously, my experience is they prefer Lancashire. I'm one of that set that prefers Lancashire. Simply because I don't have this kind of internal, oh, I really love kind of thing going on before I got it. So this is the one that comes out more often than not, that gets played more often than not. There's something super crunchy about this game that just sits correct with me. And I really like this game. I think that's a worthwhile game to go and have a look at. So please, have a look back at my Gamesplainer, have a look at at everything that I've put up about the Brass games to see if you like it. Get your hands on a copy. It's such a good game. So there you have it. That's my top 10 for this year. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write them below. If you have any games that you'd like to be Gamesplained, please shoot me an email at thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at The Gamesplainer to keep up to date with the games I'm playing. Subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games I'm gamesplaining. And until next time, enjoy gaming.